Learning to tan hides is such a valuable skill. Using more resources from the animal other than just the meat teaches us hunting is more than just a sport. Tanning preserves a piece of that animal, and essentially you become able to clothe yourself in nature, which means you're now more self-reliant. So to begin this process, the first thing we need to do is make ourselves a fleshing board. Do this by making a tripod, and then put a board or a log on top that'll be your base for running your fleshing knife on your hide. Be sure not to get any of the tools you use for scraping the flesh off too sharp. You don't want to cut into the hide. When the hide is a blue-white color all the way around, the fleshing is over. Any blood left by the wound will be removed later. Using a mixture of a 1 to 3 ratio of white distilled vinegar to water, as well as a fair amount of salt, will set the hair and prepare the hide for tanning. Let that sit for 3 days. Then put your hide back on the fleshing board to scrape the remainder of the blood and any remaining liquid out of the hide. Next, you're going to add a good amount of salt covering the entire surface area of the flesh side of the hide. You can never use too much salt in this part of the process, as it soaks up the rest of the moisture and blood in the hide. Be sure to rub in the salt over the edges so it all gets covered. Then just fold it up and let it sit overnight in a cool place. Soak the hide in water the next day and then string it on a stretcher and let it dry out. You can then work the hide with a wire brush and a butter knife, which really helps clean up the edges before tanning. With all of that complete, now we can begin tanning by dampening the hide first so it takes the solution better. Use the animal's brain to tan the skin by blending it up first. You can do this in a bucket with your hands, or you can take and do it in an actual blender. Then simply apply it evenly over the skin and make sure you get all the edges as well. Fold up the hide when finished and let it set overnight. When it is close to being dry, that's when the real labor begins. Take a sapling and make a V-notch at the top that is not super sharp. Then begin to work the hide in the notch, essentially stretching it out as it's drying. This basically keeps the fibers stretched out when it's dry, which is what gives it its soft feel. Use some fast motions to make it more velvety, and the more you work the hide, the softer it becomes. Using neat's foot oil and warm water helps you work the hide as it starts to dry out. Just dampen thick areas like the neck and continue softening. You can do this over a period of time. If the hide dries out, it's okay. Just keep applying neat's foot oil and warm water just to dampen them areas and keep working it. If you get the hide completely wet and let it dry out, you'll be back to square one. So make sure you just dampen it with the neat's foot oil and warm water, don't soak it. When satisfied with the softness of your hide, you're now able to smoke the hide for 30 minutes or more to help preserve it. It is absolutely a time-consuming and labor-intensive task, but well worth it. Even if you start small, maybe next time you bring some game home, consider tanning out its hide.